welcome back to Design Basics. Today I wanted to show you another card using a layout and just my thought process of how I decided which layout to use. And it really was born out of the fact that I wanted to use this new bird punch from Stampin' Up! From the Occasions mini catalog. And as you notice, he's not a circle, a square, or a rectangle, as I've talked about in my layout book before. So I thought, okay, well, which category would he fit in? And if I go to the circles, then I could make most of the circle layouts work because he could sit on top of a circle. I could go to my rectangles and he could become a focal point that goes in, that would be combined with a rectangle. I could go to the squares, and although he's not a square shape, he can sit on top of a square. If I wanted to use him on a large focal point, then I would probably create a background with some stamps and nestle him in there as a part of that background. He would work on the small focal points as well. And the one that I decided to use was a square. And we're going to do this layout right. I'm going to change it up just slightly to make it a little bit different. Instead of just doing a standard square 4 1/4 inch square card, I decided that I would use my Big Shot to create a square out of the square scallop die that would become the base for my card. And then I thought I would use a piece of certainly celery to lay on top of that as my card. And because it's flat, meaning no texture to it, I thought it would be fun because I seem to be addicted to using the Perfect Polka Dots impression. Okay, but I've already done that, so you don't have to watch me. So I'm going to move that to the side. So this becomes our card base. So I'm going to go ahead and put that together. Just use some mono adhesive. Now, I will tell you, when you do these square cards like this, you'll want to add a little bit of extra adhesive because they have a tendency, because of the bulk of the fold, to want to pull away. This piece is 3 7/8 of an inch. The grain, I only wanted it wide enough so that it have a nice border inside. Now we're going to add our ribbon. I wanted to use some designer paper that I'm going to show you for the bird, and that's going to get incorporated. So that's where my colors came from. This is a 12-inch piece of Pretty in Pink satin ribbon. That looks about right. So I'm going to set that to the side. For our focal point, we've got our card base. Now we need to focus on this focal point right here. And notice it was a square. Now, because I'm going to use designer paper to create my bird, I didn't want the background to compete with it. I already have pink and green on my card, so I didn't want to repeat that again. So I'm going to use a piece of shimmery white cardstock. The reason I wanted to use this versus Whisper White is because it's thicker, it's a heavier weight cardstock, where the Whisper White, I might be tempted to want to layer it so that it has a little bit more of a bulk to it. Okay, so that's going to be my base. That's this image here. Now we need to create our bird. I'm going to use the Shades of Spring designer paper, and I have scraps here, and I'll show you why scraps are the ideal piece of paper to use for this punch. And that is, isn't this a cute punch? This is a huge punch, but isn't the bird cute? But it's great because it locks in place, so it's not as bulky once it's locked down. The reason I want to use scraps is because if I put a whole sheet or even a quarter sheet of designer paper in there, I'm going to punch out images that I may not want. For example, I'm going to create the bird out of the pink with the circles on it, but I don't want the wing, nor do I need the leaf to be pink as well. So I'm going to push that down as far as I can, and I'll push it over to the right just to avoid using any excess of the designer paper. This punches so nicely. It's wonderful. Okay, so there's my bird. Isn't he cute? And see there, I've saved from using all that extra paper at the top. Now I want his wing, and this is another scrap, and I was aiming for this little kind of a teardrop shape right there. I thought that might be a cute wing, so I can just slide that in and get it exactly where I want it to be, and punch. And again, notice I don't really waste any paper that way, so it's a great use of your scraps. And that's just the back side of the pink. Now I need some branches, and this is the green stripe that's in the designer paper, the same Shades of Spring, and I'm going to punch I don't know. Let's see if I can get 2 branches out of this one sheet. I don't think I can. I'm going to punch one with the green facing up. Then I'm going to flip the paper over. So I'm going to flip it over, and you'll see why in a second. And punch another branch. Get rid of my scraps. Move those out of the way. And the reason I did that is so that I would have one branch facing, the leaves facing up, and one facing down. So that's why I had to flip the paper over. Now let's put our card together. I don't need that piece after all. We're going to put our branches on first, and I'm just going to use the 2-way glue pen to do that. This one, it doesn't really matter which one I put on first. I'm going to put some, move this up, make sure you can see. Just putting some 2-way glue on. Now this piece of shimmery white cardstock is 2 1/4 inches square, and I wanted my leaves to hang over just a little. Another reason is I didn't want the square, if you look at our sketch over here, I didn't want the square to overpower the card because it's a smaller card. And I kind of like the branches overhanging. Just a smidge. Okay. Now we need to put our bird on. And I'm going to call the bird a she because she's pink. I'm going to put her on with some dimensionals. Okay, come on, there. Go. I'm just going to nestle her in here. And then I'll use a dimensional also on her wing. That just gives her a little bit more depth. Now this paper, as I said before, is what dictated the colors for my card. So that's why I went with the pink and the green. And I'm actually going to bring the brown in just a second, and I'll show you how. This stitching, or these lines, I know it's probably hard to tell, on this designer paper, it looks like it's chocolate chip to me. So we're going to incorporate that into our tab that goes on the sides. Our tab here. So what I did was I took a piece of Pretty in Pink and I stamped it in chocolate chip. This greeting is from the Teeny Tiny Wishes. Just says thinking of you. And so I stamped it on my Pretty in Pink, just a scrap. You can cut that out. And I'm going to add that to the side of my card. The reason I used Pretty in Pink cardstock instead of just white for a tab is because the white would just get lost, and obviously the green wouldn't work either. But see how subtle the words are? If I'd used basic black, these would have been really bold. Now, when I look at this, the only thing I see that is missing, it looks just like our sketch, but the bird, I think, needs one more little element. Remember the Excellent Eggs kit has the rhinestones in it. I'm loving these. I'm going to use the middle size one. I think that's best. Grab my tweezers here. Since these have an adhesive on the back, they're already sticky. So we can get this off without losing it. You could use your fingers for this, but I did find that the tweezers worked really well. Just get it where you want it and then press it down. And that's it. Is that not too cute? I love the little rhinestones, and it adds so much to the little bird, I think. So much more dimension. So, there we have it. Here's our finished product from our sketch. All the colors, again, came from the Designer Series paper, the Shades of Spring. So that's where I have the pink and the green. I hope you enjoy, and I will see you next time for more design basics. Thanks.